great moments of my political life was working for the election of Jim Wirtz 4 years ago, in which I had all my Rotary people show up, the ones that don't have cell phones, like Mary Watson and a few others, came in and voted for Jim. We won. But Jim has what I call the unique leadership qualities that this town, this state, and this country needs. I spent a good part of my life politically with, quote, people that have a lot of power and influence in this state and this country, but that's really dysfunctional thought on my part. It's why I'm giving up the politics today. I resigned from the National Committee, the State Committee, this committee, because I was holding on to power because I could. And that is terrible. And Jim Wirtz's leadership, and the people in this room, bode well for the great candidates we have. Josh, who I know very well, I'm supporting 100% here. I see John and Connor. We're going to kick Oz and company in the butt when it comes to the fall. Now, my life in politics began a long time ago. And I see in the room Denise Horton and Andre way back in 1962. I'm 70 now, so you can do the math. Mr. and Mrs. Horton, as I called them, I never called them Mildred and Howard, took me to my first city council meeting, and then my first school board meeting. And when, as people know, I like to drink. I haven't had a drink in a year, by the way. And I was out. And Mrs. Horton said, "You're out," this is years later in the 60s, she says, "You've got to go to law school. You're wasting your time." So I want to first thank Mildred and Howard Horton for teaching me the values of championing the least of us. It was because of them that I became the chair of the Legal Redress and Education Committees of the NAACP in the 70s. It's because of the Hortons that I became the chair of the Human Relations Commission of the Committee that desegregated the Erie schools in the 70s. It's because of the Hortons and their love and their support of me that I overcame the ebb and flow of my political life. For those that know me know that it's been extreme on both sides, but I've always had people behind me. Irma Lindsay, if you're looking down at me, some of the great ones that I've had the pleasure of doing that, working with. I want to also thank my mother and father briefly, because my mother and father taught me much. I'm a third generation Wolf Road kid. You know, people that know Wolf Road know if you live 3 generations there, what am I doing standing up here? And that's because I had parents that believed. I remember when Howard Horton, he's Raheem now, and late Stanley Curry, and Jack Howard, and Gary Horton were all down at my house playing basketball in 62, 63. Now the neighbors, as you can imagine, were horrified that all these, I won't even use the words that they were described, but in my house. And we had a hose fight. My family, as people know, loved antiques and had them for generations. And Stanley, dear Stanley, if you're looking down on us, I'm telling the story, chased me with a hose into my house. And my mother came back, the neighbors paraded over, all upset, saying, "We can't have this in this neighborhood, this is terrible." And my mother said, "Ian Murray," I was only like 12 or 13, he says, "These are my son's friends. If they're my son's friends, the Murrays stand behind them." And I want to give credit to them. And it was those factors that led me along the way. And we mentioned Larry Meredith and Harold Shields, which were the 2 first African-American candidates that won city council and the school board respectively in 1977. Fred Rush, one of the 2 real political people in this town, and I ran Larry Meredith's campaign. We did so well, we outpolled the mayor. Tulio called us up in the office the next day and said, "When you came to ask for help, I didn't expect you to do this good." But, so Fred Rush, you did a great job, and you're a treasure in this town. And And I also want to recognize a dear friend of mine who's out here, Mark DeVecchio. Mark DeVecchio has got a heart. He's a man of great loyalty, great affection. And I know he's out there, and I want you to know, Mark, to my last days, I'll always appreciate you and value you, as all the Erie County community should. You're a good man, Mark DeVecchio, wherever you are. So, thank you, Mark. And then, I'm going to end soon, because I do talk a lot. And I want to recognize, I told Jimmy Wirtz to give him my best advice I gave him. I said, don't live your life like I did. I was a great politician. I did great things politically, I think I did. But if you want to be a great person, you can't be a great politician. You got to be a great person because you love your family and you take time with your family and they become the center of your life. And that's what Jim Wirtz is. Jim Wirtz is that kind of guy. That's the guy you want to lead you. Jim Wirtz. If I'm alive and standing today, it's because of two people in the room.
Yeah.
Baron Murray and Ian Patrick. They came into my life and were everything to me. And all these years, imagine this is a great cautionary tale. This is the first time I brought any of my children to a dinner. I should have been doing that 40 years ago. But that was Ian Murray, but that's not the Ian Murray today. I'm leaving Erie. I'm going up to Maine. I'm leaving June 2nd. And I have family there. It's where I came from. And I'm going to spend out my days with the memories. And I'm going to close by talking about, for a moment, Jean Tice. Jean Tice, as you all know, was really the grande dame of Erie politics. I've known her since 1982. Her late husband, Big Jim Tice, was one of my loyalist supporters. And he died early in '88. Jean was really not what you know the Jean today. Jean was just basically showed up at the meetings. So I called her up in 1988 and I said, Jean, I want you to stay involved. I'm going to get you involved. Well, that's right. I called her every night, every day for 36 years. And Jean Tice loved the Democratic Party. She loved everyone in this room. She knew, because Jimmy kept it secret, she was going to recognize me. I don't usually come to these things. Usually I come in and I'm out before the dinner starts. But I told Jean was going to come. I was with her the last hours of her life, and she faded, but when we were talking, oh, I can't make it, but I told her this. I said, the last thing that I'm going to say, at the last time I'm in front of the Democratic Party, in the last moments before I leave, the woman who's on my lips is my dearest friend, the person who's with me every step of the way. And she lived the lessons I learned when the old ward boss in Philadelphia, Marge Tartaglione, God bless her, looking down on me. In 1982, she says, Ian, if you do these two things as a politician, and only these two things, you'll be successful no matter what happens to you. And this is back in '82. I said, what's that, Marge? Marge says, your word is your bond. In other words, if you say something, you do that. Everyone knows in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in Harrisburg, they know that if Ian Murray gives you his word, you don't have to go to the bank and rest. But the most important thing, she said, is to be dead loyal to your friends. Not to be a fair weather friend, to be there when they sink the low as they can, you stand as high as you can. And Jean Tice was that person. So I want to thank you all for giving me the greatest run that anybody could have had. 40 years. So thank you.
Now, the first time that I went to Ian's house,
we were talking a lot about democratic values and like what it means to be a Democrat, and we had a lot of confluence in that conversation. So he takes me to the closet where he keeps his Democratic Party archive and all of the pictures and all the things he's done and all the people that he met. It's really an amazing sight. But the first picture that he chose to show me was a picture of him marching next to Cesar Chavez. And so today, I have for Ian. Now, for those of you that know Ian, he's got a lot to downsize before he leaves town. But I hope that he takes this one item with him and puts it in the den or whatever overlooks. It's a picture of Bobby Kennedy giving a communion wafer to Cesar Chavez to end his vast work.
Thank you, Jim. The reason I love Cesar Chavez so much is I went out in 1970 out of Delano, California when he was organizing the farm workers, and I worked with him. And then back in 72, 73, I organized the grape and lettuce boycott in New England for Cesar Chavez. So I got to know him very well. He later became the Farm Workers Union. But all my affinity and my support for organized labor came from Cesar Chavez, my dear friend who was such a big influence on my life. Thank you.